the world, Ministry. What's going on?
It is
It's been
season.
forever.
We took a 2-week break.
I feel like it's been forever since I've seen you guys. We missed you so much.
We kind of did it at the perfect time, though.
But guess what today is?
Aside from halfway through Halloween.
Halfway to Halloween today. We're halfway, guys. Halfway.
But it's season 4.
We are on season 4.
We made it. Did you guys think we'd be here this long?
I did.
Wow. Thanks for the
But
vow of
we're here.
confidence.
We're here, and we have a very special guest for you tonight. If you haven't seen any of our posts on Facebook,
Which you should have.
I mean, if you're keeping up with us, you should have. But this is our guest tonight. The old hospital on College Hill in West Virginia.
So let's welcome Tanya, the owner of the old hospital from College Hill.
She was actually born in the
I
hospital.
know.
That's pretty crazy. Let's get in this chat with her.
Hi.
What's going on? How are you?
I'm good. It's a tongue twister of a name, isn't it?
It
It
is.
is. It is.
I think we've been called everything from College Hill Hospital to hospital, college hospital, everything. So it's okay.
Disney.
Yes.
So we want to thank you for coming on, starting off season 4.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to start your season 4 and congratulations.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you for your time.
Explain yourself a little bit. Tell me who you are, where you're from, how you getting started with the hospital.
Well, my name is Tanya Webb. I'm the owner of the old hospital on College Hill. It was formerly called Williamson Memorial Hospital. And I became associated with it because I was actually born in the hospital, like you said. My life started there. And I also lost 2 of my grandparents in that hospital. They passed away before I was born, so I never got to actually meet them. So I had a pretty special connection with the hospital prior to purchasing it.
Nice.
Right. So you were born in the hospital. Was it running pretty much the whole time? Like you hurt yourself or something, you get sick, that's the hospital you went to?
Actually, no. I was born there. Where we're located in Williamson, West Virginia, we border the state of Kentucky. So my parents at the time resided on the Kentucky side. So
Okay.
I was born in Williamson, but I was raised on the Kentucky side. And then it wasn't much longer after I was born, they built a hospital on the Kentucky side. So a lot of the times I would go over there. My
Gotcha.
pediatrician was on the Kentucky side, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, this hospital has been open since 1928. From the research that I've done, that was pretty much the only hospital in that whole town. And it was a big mining town, correct?
That's correct. Yes. It
And-
opened. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It opened in March of 1928, and it was really one of the state-of-the-art hospitals, probably within a 7,500-mile range. This hospital serviced everyone pretty much in West Virginia, parts of Kentucky, and parts of Virginia as well.
It's a big hospital for that time.
It was.
Now, it was coal mining, correct?
Honestly, it serviced a lot of people, but a lot of the patients were coal miners. I mean, there were other patients there as well, but it did have a lot of coal miners because coal was our main industry for the longest time.
Got ya. And what year did that close? I've researched, I didn't get to see what time it closed.
It stayed as a hospital from 1928 to 1988. And then it shut down. And it was kind of transformed into a clinic from 1988 to 2014. And then from 2014 to 2020, it was basically used for storage.
Well, so just townspeople used it for storage, or was it like a locally owned?
It was the hospital when it closed in '88. What they did was they built a newer, more modern one just up from the hill from it, but they maintained the older one as well, the one that I now own. They transformed it into a clinic. So the people that still had Williamson Memorial owned all three buildings. So it was kind of maintained by the same company. It changed hands and courses over the years, but they owned all of it at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
Now, when you bought it, what year did you buy the hospital?
I purchased it in 2020 and opened it in 21.
Now, like, I know your parents and everything were like, you born in a hospital. What did your family think when you bought the hospital you were born in?
Well, I talked to my mom. Sadly, my dad passed away a few years back, so he wasn't around. He probably would have thought I was crazy anyway. But I talked to my mom about it. She was pretty cool with it. She thought I was a little crazy. She was like, "Well, what are you going to do with an old hospital?" And I said, "I don't know. I'll figure it out." But for me, honestly, my history is there, yes, but it was such a pillar of our community, and it represented so many things to so many people. We had people all around the world that were born in that hospital. It was a huge hospital back in its day. And I really, honestly, my first thought was to save it just for the historical value, not only the hospital, but the nurses' college beside of it, that brown building that you just showed. Because there's so much history between the two buildings. That nurses college was one of the first nurses colleges in the state of West Virginia. So I just didn't want, like so many other places, people come in and they purchase those buildings, or the state will take them over and they'll just tear them down. I just didn't want to see that happen. So when I found out that it was available, it coming out for sale, I just said a little prayer, threw my name in the ring, and got lucky enough to get it. So I was very fortunate and very happy, to be able to save it. And I hope I can continue to save it. It's not easy, running and owning those big of a buildings, but we'll do the best we can.
Now, before that property was built and everything, that was Hatfield McCoy family, right? That was that whole little area.
Oh yeah, that's what we're mostly known for, is the Hatfield McCoy feud. We're right on the border of Kentucky. So the Hatfields were the West Virginia, McCoys were Kentucky.
Yeah. Now, do you guys have any experiences from that, or?
A lot of that happened prior to the hospital being built. But there are some records where some of the Hatfield descendants were treated there. And I believe one of our doctors had to testify in one of the trials later on. So it does have some ties to it, but the actual feud came way before the hospital opened.
Right. So you owning the hospital, walking in for the very first time after it's been vacant, did you guys have experience when you first started, or did it take a while?
For me, it took just a few months. When I first walked in after purchasing it, it was kind of, I want to say, a surreal experience, because I had never really owned anything. This is my first business, believe it or not. I worked for the state of West Virginia for 23 years. So I'd always worked for someone. I never kind of went out on my own. And when I walked into the building that my life began at, it was kind of, my mom told me what floor. She told me what room she was in. And even though the numbers on the doors were no longer there and it had transformed a little bit into more of a clinical type setting, it was kind of an experience to go back to the place that you were born. And I know you've seen pictures of it, but if you walk through the halls of the hospital, even though she's 96 years old, she's still in great shape. So, all the floors are still intact. It's still, they did a great job when they built this building. So it was pretty emotional. my first paranormal experience didn't happen until it was probably 3 months into it. I had owned the building for about 3 months. We had just opened it up for paranormal investigations. And even I knew a little bit about the paranormal world. No, I was by no means any expert. I was always drawn to more spooky horror. When I was a little girl, I loved horror movies at the age of like 4 and 5. Yeah. So I'm right there with you. I heard you say halfway to Halloween. I was like, yay, it's my
Yeah.
favorite holiday, because I go all out for Halloween. So,
My very first movie I watched was the original Frankenstein when I was like 3 years old. So
My mom was a horror junkie, so I watched whatever was safe to watch whenever I was growing. Yeah.
I was always drawn to that, and these buildings always kind of just reminded me of that spooky feel. So I think that was the draw for me. But the paranormal part didn't come until probably 3 or 4 months after I purchased it.
Yeah, like just looking at this picture right here, that's just,
I love that picture.
It looks like a recipe for a horror movie. It really does. Like the old creepy asylum hospital videos.
Yeah, there was, what was the movie where they all get stuck in the asylum on top of the hill, like overnight?
House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
I keep hoping one day some movie director will reach out to me and is like, hey.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Yes.
So do you have a part of the hospital that you don't like going?
Certain floors for me are a little bit harder than others. If I have to pick just one floor, it would be the basement. If you've studied the hospital or know a little bit about it, it's 5 floors basically, including the basement. And the basement is the biggest floor. It's probably the most historical and had the most going on at all at all times.
Right.
And then as you go up, each floor kind of gets smaller. But the 4th floor also has a weird vibe for me. I don't like to stay on it very long. The 2nd floor is where I had my first experience with the paranormal, but the basement, it's just a heavy feeling down there. It's different than the other floors. I mean, I know people say it's a basement, of course it's going to feel weird, but you got to remember, this was actually when the hospital first opened, it was kind of the main floor. It was where the ER was. It was X-ray. The morgue was down there. The incinerator room was down there. The kitchen and cafeteria was down there. I mean, everything that you could think of was down on this one floor. So, and then of all things, when they turned it into a clinic, they turned the basement into the pediatric floor. So you put the children in the basement where all the creepy stuff happens. So it made a lot of sense. But it's just for me, there are times I go down there and I get overwhelmed with a sense of heaviness and sadness. There have been a couple of times where people have come in and done interviews with me and have asked to interview me in the basement. And sometimes I can do it and sometimes I can't. And I can't really explain it other than the fact that I just know a lot of people passed away there. My grandmother, I believe, passed away on that floor, as well as a lot of children. So it's just, sometimes I can walk down there and I can be completely fine. But then there are times I walk down there and it's just, I get hit with this just wave of just grief. Like I just know people are just sad. Does that make sense? It just, I can't explain it, but it's just really it's a heavy feeling. So I don't spend a lot of time down there.
Yeah. So you say your first experience was on the 2nd floor. What was that experience?
It was actually at 8:15 in the morning. I was not expecting it because, again, being kind of a newbie to the paranormal community, I thought things like that happened at 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. I really wasn't well educated on that. So we had a group that had spent the night there and they had checked out. And I came up and was just kind of walking around, making sure they didn't leave anything. And I was on the 2nd floor and I was walking by one of the doors. And as soon as I cleared the doorway, there was a voice to my left, and it was a male's voice, and all he said was, "Hey." But it was so loud and so vibrant and so close that it caused me to drop my phone. I mean, it startled me. It really did. And I looked around. I didn't see anybody, and I didn't panic too much at first because the first thing that came to my head was, "Oh, the group is still here," because the group that had spent the night before, they had two men in their group. So I picked up my phone and I texted with them and I said, "Hey, are you all still in the building?" And they were like, "No, Tanya, we left about an hour ago, but we need to tell you, as we were packing up our stuff on second floor, we kept hearing a male's voice." And I was like, "Great." um, I searched the whole hospital because I was convinced somebody had broken in. Long story short, I didn't find anybody. I didn't handle it very well. I went back and I processed everything, and I was like, it's 8:15 in the morning. What would happen at 8:15? But then it kind of made sense, because if you think about it, hospitals are active all the time. But
Oh yeah.
honestly, probably morning has more people coming in and out, like doctors making the rounds, nurses doing shift changes, people being admitted or released. So, I don't know if he was a doctor who thought I was a patient, or if it was a nurse, or maybe a patient who thought I was a nurse and just wanted to talk. But I will never forget that. It literally made the hair stand on my arm, because his voice was so clear. He wasn't angry. He wasn't upset. It's just like he just needed to tell me something. And of course,
All
I
right.
blew him. So
All right.
I hope he gives me a do over.
So these are some of the photos, recent photos. Um, you say that's the nursing school.
Yes, that was the Williamson School of Nursing. We call it the Nurses College. It was one of the first nurses colleges in the state of West Virginia. It's a beautiful building. It's about 7 stories high. As you can see in the pictures, half of the roof is missing on it. So we have a GoFundMe campaign going on, and we're trying to raise some money, sell some T-shirts and stuff, because we really want to get that roof replaced. I can, we once we get that roof replaced, we can start doing stuff on the inside, but we want to open it up for investigations as well. And hopefully, our dream is to turn it into like a bed and breakfast, and have people stay there.
That would be cool.
Investigate the hospital and just go to sleep after.
Absolutely, and investigate the nurses' college as well. There's been some really cool apparitions caught in those windows.
Yeah, they I've actually worked at the same hospital that I was born in, also.
Oh, awesome!
We visit the same hospital I was born in.
Yeah,
that's awesome to for them to still be around, because that was my thing. I'll be 51 in 2 weeks, and hospitals usually, once they build a new one, they tear the old one down. So to be able to go into the hospital that you were born in, not a lot of people get to experience that. So
the hospital I was born in is still an active hospital.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's a heart center too.
Yeah, they I worked at Bayfront Hospital. It's a trauma center. So that's where all the traumas come, helicopters and everything.
Oh wow, that's great.
So I know what it's like to work there, but not abandoned hospital. That'd be a dream come true for me to own a location. Maybe one day.
Hey, it could happen. Listen, if you'd have told me 10 years ago that I was going to own the hospital I was born in, I probably would have laughed at you.
Right.
But I believe, things happen for a reason. And it honestly was an accident that I found out it was for sale. And I just kind of felt drawn to at least try. I didn't know if I could win. I didn't know if I had enough money to get it, but I wanted to try, just because I didn't want someone to either just buy it and write it off as a tax write-off and let it rot, or someone come in and tear it down, which is what a lot of people do to make it a parking lot or whatever. So I really felt like it was meant to be. So I hope I can make it work.
So how did you? Is it like an auction, or do you deal with a realtor, or?
Actually, it was in foreclosure. The other hospital had closed down, and the courts had kind of taken over, and they separated the ties between the newer hospital and my hospital. So I was in a meeting with two gentlemen, and they found out that nobody that it was up for sale, basically. And so I just kind of asked a lot of questions and found out and threw my name in the ring for it. They were taking, like, I don't know if you call it bids or how you do it, because I was kind of new to all of that.
Right.
And they called to let me know that I was the winner of it. So I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is
Yeah.
So going back to the hospital being like the main hospital for that area, coal miners and everything. So there was a lot of amputees, a lot of stuff that happened in the coal mines. From what I was told, there is still ashes of those people in the incinerators. Is that still a thing, or?
Yes. It was a coal mining town, but our second biggest industry was railroading. We have one of the biggest rail tracks east of the Mississippi. So you had railroaders, you had coal miners, you had farmers. So you can imagine with those kind of jobs, comes a lot of accidents, especially coal mining. So you would have a lot of coal miners that would lose limbs. And then you also had burn victims that were treated there. But what they would do basically, like if a coal miner or a railroader or a farmer, had to have his leg or arm amputated, they would perform the surgery and then they would toss the body part in the incinerator. There was also stories that stillborn babies were tossed in the incinerator because in the 20s and 30s, that was just their way of disposing of things.
Right.
They didn't have any other kind of way to, properly dispose of them like they do today. There's some rumors that homeless people, when they passed away, were also tossed in the incinerator. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't been able to find anything to back that up, but I wouldn't doubt it because, again, back in those days, what else would you do with them? I mean, I don't know how they would have gotten rid of, especially in an area that's so rural like ours. But it was only, I don't want people to think it was just for burning body parts. They used the incinerator for a lot of things. It was they burnt trash in there. They burnt medicine bottles. I remember when I first opened one of the doors, one of the very first things I found was a medicine bottle from the 40s. It was still in
Wow.
there. So,
Wow.
it was just kind of, it's the hospital's way of getting rid of everything, basically.
Did you keep the medicine bottle?
Huh?
Did you keep the bottle?
I did. There were newspaper articles, there were medicine bottles, there were photographs. You remember the way that they used to take photographs, like with a, oh, what's it called, where it would spit it out right when you took it, like a Kodak. I forgot what they're called. Yeah, there were some of those in there, so we try to save those, but we didn't mess around with it too much because there were ashes in there. So I didn't want to disturb, and we were really unsure what to do with them because what do you do? That's been their home for so long. I mean, if you tried to bury them, it might disturb them. They might not like that. So, we just, we talked to several people on the state level, and then we talked to some people in the paranormal world, and we just all basically came to the conclusion, just leave them be. That's their home. That's what they know. So,
Yes.
I think if I disturbed them, it would have made things worse.
Now, do you guys, obviously, an old building, you're trying to fix everything. Do you guys have more activity during renovations, or is it just a constant activity everywhere?
As right now, honestly, we've only been open. We're going into our 4th year. What we focused on, we really haven't touched the main hospital that much. The part that kind of leads off from the side of the hospital was a built-on addition. If you see the older pictures of the hospital when it first was open, it didn't have that extra little addition that was built on. See where the cars are? The entrance is that door. If you go to a current picture of it, there was a built-on addition right in that area. See it?
Oh, yeah.
That is the area that we're working on. That wasn't built until like the latter 70s, early 80s. And we're focusing on turning that part of the hospital, since it's not part of the original hospital, we're kind of turning it into a gift shop and a museum. So that's what we're kind of
Gotcha.
focusing on. The other parts of the hospital we really haven't touched yet, other than just to clean it up so teams can explore.
Right. Now, do you still have all the hospital stuff in there?
And
Beds,
we have
hospital
some.
equipment.
Yeah, we have some, but unfortunately, some of the previous owners, like I said, the hospital was handed down through different companies over the years. And unfortunately, one lady that was over it years ago wanted to clean out a lot of the stuff in that hospital. So they got rid of a lot of it. So we have some, but not a lot.
Yeah. Now,
Are you looking for more stuff to add to it?
Yes, we do. And we always try to get in contact with former employees or people that were patients there. Anything that, we can try to collect or find, because we do want to open kind of a gift shop / museum just to kind of pay tribute to what it was back in the day.
absolutely. Like,
Pictures of the nurses that graduated from the nurses college, things like that.
yeah. Now, is that part of the museum of pill bottles, the stuff that you can still find?
Oh
Is
yeah,
that
we found old medicine bottles. We found old doctor's books, pediatric books dated back from like the 30s and 40s. We've even found like old radios that I'm assuming were probably in patients' rooms back in the days.
right?
So we've kept those. So we're trying, and old doctor's bags. You remember kind of like the old doctor's bags where they would do like a home visit and carry one with them.
So,
Yeah, we found a couple of those in a closet. So we're
awesome.
trying to hold back to restore them, because right now I don't have any way to display them without somebody maybe taking them. So we're hoping we can get the gift shop built up and the museum built up to where people can see those.
Absolutely.
That'd be cool.
And anybody that's watching or anybody that's listening right now or doing whatever you're doing, thank you for watching. We will put that link that she was mentioning up on our YouTube or on Underworld's Facebook page, so you can send a link and try to help this hospital.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate that.
Definitely. So I want to get into there was a scuffle back. I'm not exactly sure. I think it was like the 30s or 40s, if I remember correctly. Mo
Mose Blackburn.
Blackburn. So what is your thought on what happened?
Well, it's funny. I don't really know. I can't. I did go get a copy of his legal death certificate. If you ask me if I believe it, I'm just going to say no. Is it possible? Yes.
Right.
Possible, but to me, it was a little suspicious. But it actually happened. It wasn't that long ago. It actually happened in 1962.
Oh yeah.
And he was a local restaurant owner, and he shot and killed a city police officer, and he was hospitalized because some newspaper articles said he was shot. Some articles just say he was beaten pretty bad, but whichever, he was brought to the hospital and he was a patient there for a while. And then some of the local theories around here, some of the locals say that he suffered from a mental health issue, and he would hear voices that would cause him to do bad things. And the reason that he shot the police officer, or why the officer came to be anyway up close to him, he was sitting outside of his restaurant in the car with his wife, and they were arguing. And some concerned citizens were walking by, and they were afraid for her safety because they could tell he was really upset. So they called the local city police, and the two officers responded. And when they did, one came up around to Moses' side and one went to her side. And for whatever reason, Mose had a gun in the car, and he pulled the gun out and shot the officer in the head. The officer died at the hospital as well. He died in the ER. And then Mose was taken, and he was a patient up on the 3rd floor. A lot of people come to the hospital to try to figure out what really happened to him. He jumped out the window. Some people believe he was thrown. Some people believe he jumped just to try to escape. Some people believed he tried to commit suicide. So we're really not sure. Nobody really knows what he was trying to do, what really happened. But his death certificate says something totally different. But
Right.
what's weird about the whole thing was when he jumped, he just broke a leg. So he was expected to go on to court and face his time and see what happened there. But he died almost a month to the day that he jumped.
Well, yeah, he was. He claimed that he was pushed somehow, or I don't. I just wanted to get your take on it. Have you had any experiences on that floor with him or a male spirit?
Not with him particularly. On that floor, my experiences have been with children. The video that I sent you, that child that was on the third floor, and that was the window that Mose jumped out of, and you could see his death certificate on the wall. But my experience with the third floor has been more children related.
God, yeah. I'm just gonna show a couple pictures from inside the hospital.
Okay. That's in the basement.
Is that one of the parts that you don't like, or yeah?
It's not my favorite, but it's not the worst.
God, yeah.
That's on the outside of the hospital going down into what would have been the morgue.
God, yeah. Now, do you get a lot of activity in the morgue?
You know, it's hit and miss. Some teams get a lot, some teams don't get any. Me personally, I've not had any experience there. But my partner Charlie, he had one down in there. We had some vandals that had kicked in an air conditioning unit and had broken in, and while he was putting up some plywood to try to keep them from breaking in further. While he was down there, he kept hearing knocks and voices down the hallway. He at first thought it was people outside, but when he went to look, there was nobody there. So it kind of freaked him out a little bit.
You sent me this picture. Is this the?
That's on the third floor.
Right. You said there was somebody investigating. They flipped around and took a picture, or?
Well, actually, it was during a tour. And what's so weird about the whole thing is that while they were doing the tour, they were on the other end. Everybody was on the opposite end, and they were hearing the stories of what was going on the third floor. And someone took a picture of that end. So at first we thought it was one of our volunteers, but it wasn't. So if you look at it real closely, it's a shadow figure on the opposite of the end of where everybody else was.
Right. Now, I just wanted to show this picture and this picture to get into the shadow figures. Have you ever had a experience with the shadow figures, or?
No, me personally not. I have not seen one go across or anything like that. But a lot of our teams that come in, I don't have a lot of equipment per se to catch anything. Usually stuff happens when I don't have anything in my hand. You know, if I go in there with the equipment, nothing happens. But it usually happens to me when you least expect it and you're not prepared. But no, me personally,
every investigation that I've ever been on, that's what happens. I'm like, come on.
Well, that's when the voice happened. I've had some doors shut on me. The voices, things like that, lights going on off. I've never had anything with me to record it. Never. So, you know, and I don't want people to think, well, you're just the owner, you're making this stuff up. It's just stuff that happens when you're in the building.
Absolutely. Now I feel more like places like that, or hospitals or asylums or sanatoriums or stuff. It's just so much going on that imprints the building. And I feel like all of that just stays inside that building. And it's more like a residual type. You could have intelligence, but a lot of that stuff in the hospitals and stuff is more residual.
Yeah, we get a lot of our paranormal teams. we've heard a lot of feedback from them because we like to stay in touch with them just to see, because it's research for us as well. They tell us a lot that they get a lot of intelligent responses in that hospital, which is very fascinating for us because we had so many doctors that came to this hospital from all over the world. They came from Egypt, they come from different countries, they come from different parts of the US, and
Well,
some of the things that they pick up is just amazing. And then the patients as well. There'll be REM pod action and they'll answer. They'll be Johnny on the spot. They'll ask a question and bam, they'll give you the answer.
right.
They'll come through an ovulus or what, it's just really cool to see the hospital respond in that kind of way, because a lot of times you might have to sit and wait for a few minutes, but lately they've been really very responsive, and right when you ask it, bam, they'll let you know. And Mose is one of them. He's pretty talkative. He likes to get his story out. So it's pretty interesting to see and watch. But you're right, with hospitals, if you think about it, especially one as old as ours, it went through the Great Depression. It went through all those diseases. My mom was even telling me a story where scarlet fever hit our area when she was a little girl, and it took a lot of lives in our area, and especially children. So that hospital has seen so much in its 96 years of life that it's hard to even imagine how many people passed away there, how many people were born there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just like Waverly Hills, like with the tuberculosis.
Oh yeah.
Like so many people died in there, you can't say that it's not haunted or has something. You can't have that many deaths and it just be an empty building.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So one of your most famous ghosts,
The nurse.
do you see, from what I've been told, that she hangs out on the 4th floor and the roof? You want to explain this picture?
Sure. She is who we lovingly call the nurse that never clocked out. That was actually taken outside of the hospital. She's in between the nurses' college, which would be on your right, and she is entering into the left, which would have been the ER going into the first floor of the hospital. We've had multiple people tell us about sightings of nurses. That was actually caught after a tour. We had just done a tour, and the young lady that captured that photo was actually just trying to take a picture of the city of Williamson at night, and she took it with her iPhone, and she took two quick pictures. The first picture, nothing shows up, and the second picture, bam, she caught that. So we don't know if she was coming from the nurses' college over into the hospital, or if she was just going into the first floor there, which would have been, looking at her uniform, probably around the 60s era, 50s, 60s era, and
Right.
that would have been the ER at the time.
Now,
But
is that all closed off like a wall there now, or?
that what she's entering is now, that's a fire escape. When the hospital turned into a clinic, they had to add fire escapes on the end of the building. So she would have been going into the fire escape into the first floor.
Got it. Well, that's another thing. Like I was talking about a couple of interviews ago, like the shadows and the people that worked in that era. That's the route they know.
Yeah.
Like when they walk through walls and all that wall wasn't there when they around their time.
Right.
So they're still following that, and even if they walk through the wall, that there is no wall there.
Well, if you see those old pictures that you threw up earlier in the show, you can see that was not on, the fire escapes are not on there. It was rounded, it was all just hospital. So she would have been going into what she thought was the ER.
Right.
Mhm.
I would have been jumping up for joy and tackling Sarah and contacting you as soon as I saw that picture. I'd be like, oh, I'm never deleting this picture.
Listen, when the lady caught it, we know she didn't doctor it, alter it. She didn't have time, because as soon as she caught it, she come running back into the hospital. She said, "You have to see this." And we were like, "Okay, show us." And it was close to Halloween time. I'm pretty sure it was in October. So strange things happen in October. But
Absolutely.
she brought it to us, and my mouth just dropped, because you know how hard it is to get evidence,
Oh, absolutely.
let alone a picture.
Something
And
like that. Yeah, that's hard.
we told her, we asked permission to keep it so we could share it. When Destination Fear came, that was one of the ones they showed on their show. It was very fascinating, and it very, nobody's been able to recapture that today so far. But she just happened to be at the right spot at the right time.
Absolutely. With the investigators coming and everything, have they been able to pick up on the nurse?
Yes, yes, and there's, it's a hospital, so you had multiple nurses. But
Right.
one of the ones, one of the best stories that I like to tell actually comes from one of our locals. She shared on our Facebook page, and she will tell you if you interview her. She has encounters with these nurses, and we believe it might be the same nurse, because she was expecting her third child, and she was a patient in the hospital, and she was getting ready, she thought, to give birth, and she was laying in her bed, and a nurse comes into the room and tells this lady, you've not dilated enough, you still got some ways to go. If you want to come back, when you feel a little bit more pain, or if you want to wait a few more days, then come back and check with us. Well, she believed the nurse, so she gets up out of the bed and starts packing her stuff up. And as she was walking out, there's another nurse at the station, and they call her by her name, and they're like, "What are you doing? You need to get back in the bed." And she said, "Well, that other nurse just told me that I still had some time, and that I wasn't ready to have a baby yet, and to go home." And she said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "I'm the only nurse working tonight." So she has been consistent with that story from day one. And then others started coming forward about a nurse that they would see floating from room to room.
Wow.
That's crazy. Now, from what I understand, that nurse, she got in a car accident, and they were doing surgery on her, and she died on the table.
Well, the reason we call her the nurse that never clocked out, and it may be the one that you just showed the picture of. Back in those days, you had to clock in when you showed up for work, and then you clocked out when you left.
Right.
And unfortunately, she had forgotten to clock out when she left for work. So she was on her way home, and she remembered on her way home that she had forgotten to clock out, and she knew she would get in trouble by the head nurse if she didn't do it. So she had turned around and was on her way back to the hospital when she was sadly killed in an automobile accident, and they brought her to the hospital, and she died in the hospital that she worked. So
Wow.
she never really got to clock out. So
Yeah,
they think she's still
that's a
dead.
sad story.
Oh, very sad, very sad.
Yeah, imagine being stuck at work forever.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But they said she loved her job, though. She loved being a nurse.
Yeah. I mean, if I get to hang out on a hospital for the rest of my life, I wouldn't complain too much. That's just me, I guess. So you guys have, obviously, you had the amputations, you had the surgeries. Those times they had a viewing window, and you can watch your family member have surgery.
Yes. We were, this hospital was kind of a state of the art hospital for its time. And because the nurses college was right next door, it was what we would refer to today as a teaching hospital. And
Right.
what they basically did, was they had, what we call observation rooms. So they would line chairs up in a row and let the nurses come in and watch the surgeries being performed in the other room. There was like a two-way window. Well, then we learned not only would they let nurses come in, but they would let loved ones come in as well. So you would be sitting with the nurses that were learning, and you could watch your child or your mom or your dad being, having surgery performed. So it was a little weird. But, again, it's the 20s and 30s, so things were a lot different back then.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Unfortunately, we lost the operation rooms when they turned it into a clinic. They had to bring it up to code and add those fire escapes because they didn't have one back then. So they had to take off the ends of it, and that's where the operation rooms
Oh.
were. So we kind of lost the surgical part of it, but the observation rooms are still there. So you still have the two-way window, and you could see where it was.
Right. I know Sarah's got a couple questions she wanted to ask.
Did you believe in the paranormal before you bought it? I know you said you were into it, but did you actually do any investigating?
I never did really any investigating. I watched shows, and it was like I was telling you earlier, I was really more into like spooky horror stuff, and I watched paranormal shows, but I just never really it's not anything that I did on the side or learned a lot about until I bought the hospital.
Gotcha.
I became educated really quickly.
Yeah, I bet. They so being an operating hospital for so long, do you guys, I know you mentioned the Destination Fear. I've been watching that episode like crazy, doing
Over
the
and over
research.
again.
And I know Dakota was on the 3rd floor, and he hears a hospital machine going off, like phantom sounds of a hospital running. Have you ever had that kind of experience, or?
Yes, we've been on, and mostly, honestly, for me, it's been the machines on the 4th floor. There's equipment all throughout the hospital, but for some reason, the ones on the 4th floor, just I don't know, they got a mind of their own. There's no power up there. They're not plugged in. But you can be on the 3rd floor and you can hear a sound, what sounds like a heart monitor, just slowly beeping. And it's kind of creepy when you hear that and you're on a different floor because
Yeah.
there's no power and they shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
So there's no power in the whole hospital?
There's limited power. We do have some power in what we call base camp, where the teams can charge their equipment, and then we have a little bit of heat or air. And then in our lobby, we have electricity in the lobby, but that's the only place we have it.
Got you. So there'd really be no reason why anything could be going off.
No, and a lot of teams don't even realize that it's very rare to capture it in what I call real time. But some of our paranormal teams, when they go back and review their evidence and they replay stuff, they figure out, they'll listen to it, with their headphones and stuff, and you can hear the equipment working. So they didn't hear it while they were investigating, but when they go back and review it, they hear it then.
Right. Now you said you get a lot of activity from kids.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain this photo? We have a photo and a video to go with it. So
Okay.
do you want to explain this a little bit?
Sure. That was actually taken on the 3rd floor. That was actually that is the window that Mose jumped out, and that's his death certificate hanging up. But the 3rd floor, not only was it patient admission rooms, but it was also maternity. So there were children on that floor. So that shadow figure that circled was coming from the room to the right and going over to the other room, which was Mose Blackburn's room at the time. But it was probably also children's rooms as well. Like I said, it was patient admissions. So children were admitted to this floor as well. So basically, when I watched it, when the team showed me that captured that, it looked like to me a little boy with his hands in his pockets, and he looks kind of sad. He's just kind of looking down, and he walks from one room to the next.
Let's play that video for you real quick.
There he goes.
Yeah.
You can see him really good when he gets right in front of the blinds. There he is.
Yeah. So what we do on here, we don't play any of the videos. I don't show Sarah anything. So videos that they ever watch, it's a blind review. So that's the first time we've seen that. That's awesome.
Oh, really? Yeah, it was the team had set up some cameras. They were not there at the time. they just left some cameras rolling while they were on a different floor. And when they went back and reviewed the evidence, reviewed their cameras, they caught that. And we thought, wow, that, it might be an adult, but it looks a little short. To me, it looks
It
like a
does
little
look
boy.
like a child. Yeah.
Yeah, if you
definitely.
zoom in on it, it looks like a little boy with a short haircut, and he's got his hands in his pocket, and he's just walking from room to room.
Yeah, you can see it clear as day.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
can see it. Yeah. We posted it on our Instagram page if anybody wants to go look at it and replay it over and over. But that's just one of the examples of the shadow figures that we see that the teams have captured. But that was actually on the 3rd floor, and that was what I think was a child.
Right. So we have a couple more pictures and then a couple videos, or a video to play still. So hanging out outside in the parking lot, just looking at this building, I know, like an investigator like me, if I'm sitting out in the parking lot just hanging out while everybody's talking, I'm paying attention to the whole building. I'm looking at windows, and that's just me. That's the way my brain thinks. Like, so from the research that I've done, there's a lot of locals that see lights going off. They see shadows going across the windows. Have you had any of that experience, like being outside of the building, looking out into the building?
Yes, being outside, we've seen lights that have come on that should not have. More so the back of the building than the front. I don't know if you have a picture of the courtyard. I think you showed it earlier, but it's the back of it. It's kind of like a little courtyard area. But I see a lot of faces. Yeah, that used to be the front, but that is the back. But I think there was another one that you showed. It was a picture taken at night. It was kind of the side of it, and that's part of it. If you see that house behind it, right down from that is a courtyard area, but that's kind of the back of the hospital there. A lot of light. There you go. Yeah, right there. We see light fixtures or lights go on and off there all the time. And then I tell you, when we're back there, you can also hear voices. They're in the building somewhere. We just don't know where, but it just chitter chatter. It's like either doctors talking to other doctors or nurses talking to other nurses. And then when you go in, they're there.
That's crazy. So I have a couple pictures. So this is an example of stuff in the windows, the circle area. I have a close up also. Is this the kind of stuff that you see in the windows?
Not all the time, but every once in a while. And this was one of my friends who had come in for the weekend, and her kids had seen Destination Fear and they wanted to go see it. So they stopped to take a picture. She didn't even know she captured that. She sent it to me and I blew it up and I said, "Hey, did you see this?" It's like they were watching the kids. But from time to time, you will get pictures. It's like they're watching you, if that makes sense. They're peeping out the windows and looking to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
She didn't know. She was freaked out after I
What's
showed
going
it.
on?
Yeah. So there's a picture that it's funny because I've seen this picture 100 times. And I never even noticed until I went on your profile and started looking at the pictures. Is the picture of Destination Fear. Dakota, Taylor, Alex, and Chelsea. We love them, by the way.
Yeah, we do.
Absolute love with Project Fear. Keep going.
Yeah, they came back as Project Fear last year.
Yeah. We watched that one too. I love it. But this is just a random promo shot of them at the hospital. Great picture, by the way, whoever took that. But this is another example of things in the window staring at you.
Yes. Actually, it was their crew. It was the Travel Channel's. I guess they have their own like camera crew.
Yeah.
And they were doing some promo shots of it. And I happened to blow that up, or maybe it was a fan. Somebody found that. I can't remember who it was because that was a while back. But we blew it up and looked at it, and it was like they were watching them
Mhm.
Yeah.
because Destination Fear, they were the first ones in the hospital to investigate.
Like,
Well, they were the first ones to ever do it overnight.
Yes.
In the
They
hospital.
found us before we were even open, and I got a call from the Travel Channel, and at first I thought it was a joke. And the lady introduced herself. She was really sweet. She told me about the show, and I had heard of it, but I had never really watched a lot of it. But she basically told us that they were looking for a destination for their season 2 finale, and she said they had come across the hospital on I guess Google or something. I think it was just through the internet. And she said, we would like to put your hospital in for the running for the season 2 finale. She said, but you're up against 3 other places. So I thought, well, there's no way they're going to pick us because we're in West Virginia. We're out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's ever heard of us.
Yeah.
And about 3 days, and she told me, she explained Dakota always picks the last place. So it will be up to him. And I said, no, we appreciate you guys even thinking about us. Just let me know. And I think about 3 or 4 days later, she called me back and she said, Tanya, Dakota loves the hospital and they want to end the season 2 finale at the hospital.
That's
were floored.
awesome.
We were floored.
that's
So
cool.
we're very grateful for them because honestly, that's kind of how we got our start. They came in and filmed and aired it in the end of December, I think 2020. And then
Yeah.
we opened in February of 21.
That's awesome.
And then
Yeah.
they came back. We found out, unfortunately, that the Travel Channel canceled their show, which I think was crazy. But you know, it's TV. So they contacted us and said, "Hey, we're not giving up. We love doing what we're doing. We're coming back as Project Fear, and we love the hospital so much. Can we come back there?" And I think they went to Sweet Springs first, and then we were their second stop.
Yep.
Yep.
And they made
They
poor
are-
Dakota get in that body cooler, and I felt so bad for him.
You can lock me in that body cooler whenever you want.
Nothing.
Oh my God!
I'm
There's
down.
no way.
Volunteer.
No way.
I volunteer. If Dakota can do it, I can do it.
We had a
But-
team that just did that, and you should have heard some of he didn't hear it in real time, but when they went back and reviewed the tape, you should have heard some of the stuff that they picked up. There was banging on the cooler, there were voices. It was really creepy. It was really, and he was like, I didn't hear any of that while I was in there because I was so concentrated. They actually shut the door and locked him in like they did Dakota.
Right.
I could probably lay down on it, but I don't think I could get locked up in it. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
Just couldn't do it. But
I'm down.
it was some of the stuff that they picked up was unreal.
I have to bathroom break.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. 1 second.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
You guys keep going.
So I do want to play one video. It doesn't go with the interview, but in 2 weeks we will be having an investigation of ourselves. I just want to play that for you real quick. By the time she gets back, hopefully the video will be done.
Awesome. That looks awesome.
So in May 11th and not this Saturday, but next Saturday, we'll be in still a functioning historic opera house.
Oh wow.
2 other
That's cool.
teams. Beyond the Boundaries, that was spooky. And if I say this wrong, I'm so sorry, Tiffany. I haven't met you yet. Palin Paranormal. I probably botched that so bad. But that we will be doing a live walkthrough. We will be doing, if you've seen any of our videos while we do investigations, we do all investigations live. So you can be an investigator with us. If you see anything, let us know. But that's in 2 weeks. Hopefully you guys can see and watch it with us.
You guys are going to
You
have fun.
Oh, I can't wait. It's my first theater.
Ooh.
Been investigating for almost 10 years, and this is my first theater.
All right.
I'm so excited.
Those are cool. Anytime you can investigate a theater, that's really cool.
a functioning still.
Yeah.
I think that theaters from the 20s, it's like your hospital, and it's still a functioning music venue. They have
That's
plays,
awesome.
they have operas, they have an old screen. So I'm excited.
Oh yeah, you should be. That's great.
We're getting into collaborating with other teams here in Florida. So this is part of our crazy season 4. But we still have one more video that I want to wait. Hopefully she'll be back. I didn't know she was going to the bathroom.
No problem.
What if you walk through the hospital? What is the number one? You said the basement, of course. But like, what's one part of the hospital that you just like refuse to go to by yourself?
None, honestly. I think I've gotten just so used to it now. There's floors that make me a little nervous when I go to them, but none that I actually refuse to go to. Some that make me feel uncomfortable, but not any that at least at this point, that I refuse to go to. Now, we have some volunteers. If you watch the Destination Fear show, one of our volunteers was on there. Her name was Patty. She was interviewed. She's the one that saw the man's face in the wall in the basement. To this day, she won't go in the basement by herself. One of us have to be with her.
Now that's part of the area that they have like lobotomies and stuff like that. That happened at the hospital, correct?
Yes, but where she actually saw the face, she was coming out of the X-ray room. So there were 2 old-fashioned X-ray rooms there, and those were the 2 rooms that never changed over the course of the hospital's time. So the old original walls, the microfilm, the way they used to do them, that's all still there. So she was actually walking and she was leaving that room. And as she exited the door, there's this wall to your right. A man's face appeared, and she said he was just angry. He was angry that people were there. He didn't want people there. So she just kind of hurried down the hallway, and she come and told me, and she said, I can't go back down there.
Do you have reports of like a janitor or maintenance man dying down there, or?
Not that we have found in our research, but a lot of the people that used to work there, they told us that the number one job that they could not keep people employed as, that the turnover rate was just high and ridiculous, was the janitors and the custodians, because nobody wanted to clean that hospital after dark, especially the 4th floor and the basement. So that was, they experienced things, they saw things. They didn't feel comfortable, so they couldn't keep them employed. It was a constant turnover.
Yeah, that's sign me up. I mean, I know I keep saying
it makes sense. I could understand it because they're there late at night, so they probably did see some things that would freak them out. And if you're there cleaning by yourself, that would probably not be fun.
Yeah. That's a whole joke on Facebook. Would you clean a cemetery at night and everything? Yes, I would. And I would have a chest camera mounted. And oh man. So we have one more that I didn't want to play while you were gone. So let's play the other video that you sent me, and we'll have a conversation about it.
Okay.
I didn't. I'll play a couple more times.
Look in the doorway.
Yeah.
To see it.
Let me play it one more time.
Look in the doorway and look up.
Oh yeah.
I
Did
see
you see him
that.
walking by?
Yeah. Yeah. So
That
what
was
is
one
that?
of that was one of the best shadow figures caught on the 4th floor to this day.
Oh, Misfit Apparitions. Thanks for coming.
Oh, we would love to have you. Come see us. We'd love to have all of you. Come see us.
Absolutely.
How much do you charge for investigations?
It depends on the groups. We do it by number. So for like our base price for 1 to 5 people, it's $500, and you can split it up in 2 payments. A $250 deposit that is non-refundable, and then you can either pay the remaining balance the week before you come, or if you need to pay it monthly, we allow you to do that too, because we know times are tough for people. So, but if you have a group bigger than 5, it basically boils down to $100 per person.
Yeah.
So
Which isn't bad at all. That's,
no, and we really try. That's the process that we kept when we first opened. So we're really trying to keep it that. We don't want to raise it because we want everybody to experience it. And we're really we give you a lot of time. We let you check in between 4 and 7 p.m. and the hospital is yours until 8 a.m. the next morning. So we don't rush you. We don't hover over you. We make sure that you're safe. But we want you to have ample time in the hospital because, like with me, my first experience was at 8:15 in the morning. So we want you to be able to experience it all different times of the day and night.
right. Now, one more question, and then we'll get into the question of the week.
Which I came up with.
Sarah brought up the question of the week this time, guys. I'm so proud
All right.
of her. Do you guys going through the hospital? I know a lot of like Ashmore Estates. Thank you, Robin. I appreciate it. Shout out to Ashmore. He said a lot of investigators that he encourages investigators to investigate during the day more than the night. Do you have more activity during the day than you do at night?
I'm not going to say that there is or there's not. Me personally, I've had experiences in both. So, again, it's a hospital. So there was stuff going on in hospitals all the time, whether it
Absolutely.
be, people at nighttime, there were emergency rooms were open. People were dying. People were coming in. People were hurt. And I've had it happen at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and I would think the paranormal teams would probably tell you the same. With the paranormal, you just never know. You just never know when it's going to be active. But again, I think you could capture just as much as you could at 8 o'clock in the morning that you could at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I think it just depends on what spirits want to talk and how the hospital responds to you. I truly believe they watch you, and I think they see and kind of feed off how the teams are. And they kind of feed off that personality. I think they're just as curious about us as we are about them.
Absolutely.
So I try to, when I go in, I treat them with respect. I try to let them know, what I'm doing. And I think they appreciate the fact that, people believe that, they're still there and trying to save the building because it's the only home that they know. And, I think some of them are just lost and want to tell their stories. And I know a lot of the teams that have come in contact with children. Some of them were burn victims and they want to tell their stories and they miss Barbie dolls. They miss baby dolls. They just want human contact again. And I think they appreciate that. So, it's hospitals are special. At least for me, they're special places because there's so much going on there. Again, life starts there and life ends there. So you have that whole circle.
Absolutely. We have a question from Misfits. It's in West Virginia, but what city is it in?
It's called Williamson, West Virginia. We're right on the border of Kentucky.
Got it. I knew it was in Virginia. Beginning of the show, my bad.
Oh, that's okay. We're about 3 hours from Trans-Allegheny.
Oh.
We're on the other end. We're on the other end of West Virginia. We're on that tip right before you get into Kentucky.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little city called Williamson.
Yeah. Now we have one more video that I want to play that I just made the other day. If anybody that's watching this or anybody that knows anything in Florida, if somebody needs help or a house investigation, we are
That's
doing
right.
house calls.
Oh,
And
wow.
if you need any help or you just need us to come and figure out what's going on in your house, message us, let us know. Depending on, right now we're only doing Florida. That's about as far as we can get right now because we're broke.
Hey, you never know, though. It may lead you to other places.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Our friend Haiti and her husband do house investigations, so we're kind of wanting to get into it and offer that. So if anybody needs help or just wants their house investigated and they have someone there with them that has equipment, we can do that.
Right. At no cost.
Yeah.
Like I do this because I love it.
I'll pay you to let me investigate your house.
I'm here to help people. I'm here to find out the unknown, which that helps me with my curiosity and it helps with the person that needs help also.
Yeah, we can help people.
Well, that's why we appreciate you guys and the paranormal investigators so much because, from our standpoint as owners of the hospital, you guys help us with our research. There's no records. They were all destroyed. We have no idea how many people have been in and out of that hospital. So, for all the teams to come in contact with different spirits and stuff, it's really good for us and it helps us with our research. So we appreciate you guys. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you all. So we appreciate all that you guys do.
Do you guys do tours through the hospital or?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how much is that all on the website?
Yes, we have it listed. We do events and we also do tours. So depending on what you and your group want, some people like just the history of the hospital. Some people like the paranormal side with no history. Some people like flashlight tours. Some people like day tours instead of night tours. So we do a little bit of different ones just to we even do photography tours because as you can see, she's pretty photogenic. So we allow people to come in and photograph her inside and out.
And how much do you charge for all that?
It just depends. Our cheapest tours are around $20. Our most expensive tour, which is the photography tour, is around $100. So it could range anywhere from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 up to 100. The photography tours are a little bit more expensive just because we allow them so much time in the hospital and it's kind of a free roam. And we don't, because we love it when they do that because they see it in a different way than we do. And they take such awesome shots. So, and we give them pretty liberal time in the hospital to get some really good shots.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to remember that.
We honestly, we have to keep it going, but we try to make it as affordable as we can. Because we know times are hard for everybody right now. It's just difficult with just buying groceries. But we want to keep it as affordable as we can. And we even try to set up payment plans if that helps the teams and stuff. We also own 2 of the houses up there on the hill that you guys saw. So if you come into town and you need a place to stay, we rent those out to teams and to people. And one of the homes is actually Dr. Conley's home. He was one of the co-founders of the hospital. So you can actually stay and we allow you to investigate the homes for free because we have been told by some of the teams that have stayed there that there's activity in the homes as well. So that's got us curious as to why. Is there something up there that we need to be made aware of? Or is it just all because it's so close to the hospital?
Right. And now you said when obviously I'm wearing the Ashmore hat, you guys sell merch and everything. Here's the link for that. So all the money that goes to the investigations, to going to rent to the houses, to their online store, goes to restoring the hospitals.
Absolutely. Everything we get, it goes back into the hospital. We have started some new things, as you showed with the Nurses College. If you go to our website, we have a donate button. You can donate to help us try to fix that roof. And then we also have a GoFundMe campaign. If you search I think it's called Williamson Nursing School, or the old hospital on College Hill Nursing School. We're trying to raise some money so we can at least put a roof on it and then start with the inside of it.
Right. Yeah, like I said, if you send me all those links, I'll happily put that on Facebook.
Okay, thank you.
About that for you. I will let Sarah do this part since it's her question of the week this week.
Oh yeah. Press the button.
So tell them what's going on. What do you do? What's the question of the week? Fine. I'll do that part. She's learning still. She's good. Hold on. We got to tell people what to do first. So, question of the week. We play the video and then we ask you the question. And anybody in the comments, please put in the comments of what you think the question of the week and what your answer is. Amber said, let's go. Right. Now you hit the button, Sarah. Do you think that spirits stay in the location that they visit the most? What do you think, Sarah?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
That's it? It's all good?
Yeah.
Okay.
With the nurse going underwear.
Yeah. Now, what do you think, Tanya?
I'm going to have to say, just because I have so much experience with the hospital, yes.
Yeah.
I think, especially with my location, I'm not sure if they're trapped there, if they choose to stay there. You know, there's questions that I don't understand or may not be able to answer, but you know, that's their home and has been their home, and the last place maybe they were possibly alive and saw their loved ones. So I do think they say they're hoping maybe to catch another glimpse of them or to see more people. That's just my take.
Absolutely. Misfit Apparition says yes. Harlem says, good question, Sarah.
Yay.
I feel like they're comfortable there, they stay. Absolutely.
I agree with that.
The way that I look at that is I feel like people go to their most happiest place of their life. The place that made them so happy. And I feel like I'm not religious. This isn't a religious page at all. But I feel like that's their heaven. That's where they felt the most zen. That's where they felt the most comfortable. I mean, wouldn't you want to go back to your favorite memory and just that be it?
Right.
So I feel like that's why some people stay at that location or locations. But
Place that left an impact.
right. Do you have anything that you want to promote? Any events? Anything coming up that you want to promote before we go?
We just, we constantly do tours. You can look under our page under events and see what we've got coming up. This weekend, we have the Raid Chasers coming in to visit with us. They're doing a public ghost hunt, so you can purchase tickets for that. And then we have some of our regular groups that come back. And then, of course, around Halloween time, we always try to have some fun. And a lot of people don't know, we do weddings at the hospital and birthday parties. So if you're looking for some creepy vow renewals or a creepy off, wedding, and you want to have some up there, we got you hooked up. We did like 13 weddings in one weekend, and it was a blast. We had so much fun. The pictures were amazing. It's your non-traditional wedding, of course, but we do all kinds of stuff like that.
That'd be our destination wedding. You said it exactly right. Exactly right. So when we message you, Tanya, you'd be like, hey, we tied a knot. Just remember, we'll be there.
That's right. Come on up. We would love to have you. We'll even get you one of the lodges for your honeymoon suite. We got you hooked up.
Sounds great. It's
We'll,
perfect.
we'll send you to all kind of spooky places in the area. When you come to visit us, we're located in Mingo County, West Virginia. And I kid you not, if you Google Mingo County, it's called Bloody Mingo. That's our nickname. So all kinds of weird stuff goes on in this county. You won't be disappointed. If you love spooky and you love history, we should be a spot on your map to come see.
Absolutely.
It's
But
there.
you guys are like up in the mountain, like up in the mountains of what's it, Appalachian Trail.
Yep.
So you guys are like right in the middle of the Smoky Mountains, or
No, we're a little bit farther away from the Smokies. We're like I said, on the border of Kentucky. We're the Hatfield-McCoy feud country. That's what we're mostly known for.
yeah.
So
All right. We have one more. Oh,
Yes, it is.
so that's a Hatfield McCoy country.
yes, it is where the Hatfield and McCoy feud took place. Absolutely. I wish, if you guys got to see the miniseries, I wish they would have filmed it here because that's where everything happened, but they didn't.
Oh,
They didn't film it here.
Damn.
I hope you get that other dream of producer or director coming to
Oh, that would be great.
your hospital.
Yeah, that would be great. It says, I don't know if you can tell by the pictures, but the hospital sits up on a hill and it
Yeah.
overlooks the city. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, screaming, this could be such a great horror movie, a horror
Absolutely.
place,
Absolutely.
Maybe one day. A girl can dream.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Hospital on Haunted
the
Hill.
hospital on Haunted Hill. There you
Yeah.
go. That's awesome.
They had, what was it called? Silent Hills. They had that.
Yeah.
You could do College Hill.
Yep. Absolutely. But I want to greatly appreciate you coming on to speak with us. It's been a wonderful interview, and we're so happy that you came and
Thank you
spoke
so
with
much
us.
for kicking off season 4 with us.
Yes.
No, thank you guys for having us. We really appreciate it. Like I said, we couldn't do what we do without you guys. So we appreciate you guys even wanting us to talk about it. So thank you so much for inviting us.
Yeah,
No problem.
thank you so much for your time. It was fun.
Absolutely.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. And I hope you guys can come and visit us one day.
I do too. I
Me
actually have
too.
family up in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah. Come and bring
I
them.
I got friends up in Pennsylvania, so we have to go through Virginia to get there.
Well, there
so,
you go. You can just take a little detour and come to Williamson.
Yep.
Absolutely. But I want to greatly appreciate you and welcome to the Underworld family.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having us. Thank you guys, everybody in the chat.
Yes,
And if
thank you
anybody
so
wants to
much.
message, contact me. We're pretty much on all social media sites, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I'm the one that controls those pages. So just message us and we'll get you in there.
Y'all are gonna see us with some new merch soon.
Yeah. I'll post the merch when I get it because I'll be.
Come and see us. And we also have some that's not listed on our online on our Facebook page. So you can check that out too.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, Tanya. Well, you have a great evening. And
Thank you
so
to
much.
everyone who came to see us for season.
Thank you guys. You guys have a great evening too. Appreciate you.
Do it, and remember,
Always
always
stay
stay
creepy.
creepy.